This is the California Association of Realtors Residential Purchase and Sale Agreement. Now there are, and you can see, I went through this with ChatGPT, there are about 8 outs for buyers. Some of them require little or no good faith to be shown. For instance, with the investigation contingency, a buyer can cancel for really any reason. I mean, their investigator is going to find 80 things. Some will be small, some may be large. Some might just be the grading away from the house because of rain. The grading over time pushes the wrong direction into the house, and it should be like this. I mean, they find, it's their job to find stuff. They have these long forms, they'll find stuff. So the buyer can get out. Now, the normal way this is set up is a buyer has 17 days. Here, we'll come to the contingencies. And the buyer has 17 days to investigate the property and presumably accept the condition of the property and then say they're releasing their contingencies. Now, if the buyer's not producing the contingency release, and most agents working with buyers will do it, but if they're not, then there's procedures like a notice to perform and things like that that a seller can do to try to lock that process down rather quickly thereafter. But the point is, with all these potential outs, some not even requiring good faith, just they exist, they saw the disclosures, now that they've read them, they don't want the property. They have 17 days plus the amount of time it takes to force them to comply or cancel the contract. So, like if you could get this done in less than 21 days, using these regular timelines to get the buyer to go away, you're good. So what happens in down or slowing markets? Well, I can tell you that in the past, as soon as the brokerages were catching on to this, the brokers in charge would call a meeting. They'd have all their agents there, and they'd say, in this market, the properties are slowing down. We're still seeing sales, but if your property is overvalued, it's just making the properties that are better value, it's just advertising for those properties. People are coming out, they're looking at the property, saying, this is a better value, it's $50,000 less, I'll just buy this property. So if you want to sell your property in a down or weak market quickly, you need to become the best priced home. And then there's sort of a race down, and these guys are getting beat out for a month or 2 or 3 months. They finally give up, and they're like, they become the best priced property. So the reality is you should tell your sellers, if they want to sell their property now, this is what the price is, and they need to be the best priced property. So you're seeing that. So what happens is buyers become accustomed to that. Their agents start learning this, and they're like, well, let's make an offer on this property, but if prices still can continue to come down over the next 17 or 21 days, we'll be able to get you that other property, and you'll just get out of this one. And that was a common strategy in the down market. Now, what am I suggesting? I'm suggesting right now, we know the rest of the country is slowing down. I just looked at the data for a lot of the top places in San Diego. Days on market might be going up a little bit, but we're not really sure, looking at the data, that the market's slowing down. I can tell you anecdotally from talking to agents, yes, offers are not coming in sort of for the second tier properties like they were. I mean, there's definitely some slowdown. So it's not necessarily seen in the data in the popular towns yet. But I can tell you right now that you need to be working with an agent who knows how to sell market and has sold properties in down markets. And particularly, you need to know when, if you're going to do a counter. So the offers come in, they're going to look like this. If you're accepting less money or part of the negotiation, your realtor has to establish a dialogue with the buyer's agent, and they want to be ready to knock down some of these contingencies, like the appraisal contingency or the loan contingency. I mean, we want to take these down very shortly or eliminate them. And you don't necessarily, or you could write a contract without them. I mean, I'm not saying your realtor could do that, but as an attorney, I could do that. So you could cross these out even if you want, if you're working with an attorney. But I would say that you want to work with a realtor who knows all the strategies for down market, who's sold dozens of properties in down markets, because this is just some of the things you need to become aware of. Now, additionally, in up markets, a lot of times in multiple offer situations, sellers were not using these contingencies, and you need an agent who knows how to read the contracts and who can explain that to you. Again, you or a lawyer is probably the better. But you'd have no low contingency checked or no appraisal contingency. So there are times for that. Here's the removal or waiver of contingency, and a form is attached. So that is the short of all these outs for buyers. In my opinion, they're a good thing, but I can also tell you, sophisticated sellers and buyers frequently draft contracts that don't have nearly as many of these outs or any of them. In other words, like, do you want to buy my home? You've been through it, you know it. Here's the price. You know, let's sell this home. That can happen, but it's rare. I've reviewed those contracts. I don't like to draft up those 2-pagers because they take a lot of work and they're putting liability. I can do it. I'd rather work with forms and review them and talk to my sellers about them. I'd rather adjust these forms. But there are people who sold properties with far fewer outs for buyers. That might be something you want to consider in our current market. Now, buyers, this is why you really shouldn't be that afraid to make an offer, because you have all these outs. My name is John McConnin. You can find out more at winnerscheck.com. We're going to have part 4 where we go through the rest of the contract that I didn't go through in the original video, or part 2, or this was now part 3, and we're going to cover part 4 next. Thanks, bye.